All right, we are back. Chris Mannix, Rachel Nichols, Fox Sports 1, All the Smoke, Monumental Sports Network, and of course, right here on the show every single week. I am in Boston for the next couple of days. Caught that electric game between the Celtics and Jazz on Monday nights. Headed back to the Garden on Wednesday for the Celtics and the Wizards. I sure know when to come through town, Rachel. When I went to see the very best games at the Garden during my return trips to Massachusetts.
If there's anyone who can make any Celtics game sound like the most exciting game ever, it is you, Chris Mannix.
I tell you what, sneaky great game though between the Celtics and Jazz on Monday. One of the best games that we saw on Monday night. Utah, Keontae George making plays, Lauri Markkanen making plays, Yusuf Nurkic put back at the buzzer, and on top of it, the referees missed maybe the worst missed call that I've seen this year. Has to be at least this year, maybe not longer. When Keontae George performed a slide tackle on Jaylen Brown at the top of the key, and none of the referees saw it. Nobody saw the Keontae George slide tackle, but the Celtics did blow at 11 or had a big lead at halftime and blew that, and then you can't lose games to the Utah Jazz and expect to be a contender.
I just like that this spectacular game you're describing. You will be the only person on earth who remembers it.
Me and I think because of the slide tackle, the NBA is gonna have to weigh in on that. The L2M report, I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm sure that's gonna say that was a blown call. And we'll see if Jaylen Brown gets fined for his comments after the game. We're not gonna talk about the Celtics. We are not gonna talk about the Jazz. We are gonna talk about the situation in Memphis regarding Ja Morant, a rapidly devolving situation in Memphis with Ja Morant. And we're going to talk about your Milwaukee Bucks, Rachel. You have been a proud champion of the Bucks for months now. They're off to a great start. We'll talk about if that start is sustainable and what we've seen from Milwaukee this season. But we do have to start with the breaking news coming out of New Orleans, and that is, drum roll, Zion Williamson is injured once again. Yes, the oft-injured Zion Williamson has a hamstring strain. He is out for at least 7 to 10 days. I put the at least on that because the Pelicans said he'll be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days, which you and I both know means probably longer and potentially a lot longer for Zion Williamson. This is just the cherry on top in what has been an absolute debacle of a season for the Pelicans. They start out
the opposite of a cherry on top.
It is the just when
garbage can lid on top of the.
Yeah, just when you thought they had hit rock bottom, they find a new level to go to. 0-6 to start the season. They get tattooed by Oklahoma City on Sunday in a game they trailed by 36 points. They are ranked 27th in offensive rating, 29th in defensive rating, and they have the 30th in the league net rating, a full 2 points worse than the Brooklyn Nets, who come in at 29. So it just gets worse in New Orleans. Rachel, what's your take on Zion now being out for the Pelicans?
I mean, you're not including that they've lost half their games by 30 points or more. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Look, yes, this is bad, but when you're talking about a team that is, it's moving deck chairs on the Titanic, right? I mean, I'm not sure Zion being in or Zion being out for a couple weeks has made or is making a measurable difference on this team. I mean, they just clearly have huge roster deficiencies. That trade, in fact, set of trades that you and I both panned at the time, giving the Pacers back their pick for this coming up draft, which now looks like absolute insanity. And no, they did not know that Tyrese Halliburton was going to tear his Achilles, but they did know he had a calf injury at the time. This was in the middle of the finals. So you could sort of say, well, should we just hold off a week until we make this trade? And then the inexplicable trade of using the draft pick they got back from the Pacers to go up and get Derek Queen. It's not making any sense. Is he playing? I mean, has he started? I mean, he's certainly not playing. Right. I mean, it looks like absolute, even more insanity than it did when you and I discussed it at the time. And, everyone, I think, is just, including Willie Green, is sitting around waiting for Willie Green to get fired because you can't change the players in any measurable degree right now on that team. And the management is new, which means the coach is the one who is going to be on his way out. And look, I don't know if Willie Green, is going to be happy to be out of this situation and collect his money, because it just seems that there is no light at the end of the tunnel. This is not that kind of situation. It's just a very dark room.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't think firing Willie Green is going to solve their problems.
No, I'm just saying that you and I know how this merry-round goes.
Yeah,
And
just
also, has he lost the team? I mean, I don't know if there was a team to lose, but
I
there's that.
do think look, last a few of the games this season, I've talked to opposing coaches on the staffs of teams that have played them, and they have described a team that doesn't play with a lot of energy, that plays a chaotic style, that doesn't have a lot of buy-in, it seems, from what the coach wants them to buy into. And that's reflected in some of these numbers. I mean, they're not good at anything. Like, statistically, they are not good at anything. That being said, like, Willie Green can't make Trey Murphy the third find his jump shot. Willie Green can't make Herb Jones find his jump shot. Like, they've got a lot of guys that are dramatically underperforming in Memphis, and that is New Orleans, and that is a huge problem for this team overall. And I got to imagine it's going to get a lot worse over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is that Zion is out. Zion hasn't been great for this team by any stretch, but he has been, one of the few guys putting up some numbers for them. And with him out of the lineup, I guess you plug Derek Queen into that spot, throw him right into the fire, but you're not going to get the same type of production. This is just really bad. Like, I don't know I don't know how to be optimistic about this, because the people that are celebrating their failures are in Atlanta and their front office and
Yeah.
the pick that's coming their way in 2026. All you can really hope for is that an opportunity presented for Derek Queen helps him develop into like a rookie of the year. And like, you can at least say, hey, look, we traded away what could be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, but we got Derek
in the
Queen
deepest
here,
draft in years and years and years, even including last year,
especially at the top. Some talent there at the top. You can at least say, like, hey, we've got Derek Queen and he can turn out to be a star, but I don't know. It's bad. It's really bad. I don't know what kind of timetable we're looking at, but I do not expect Willie Green to make it very long. Not the way this team is playing. And you made the point about Joe Dumars being in charge, Troy Weaver being in charge. These are not people that hired Willie Green. They kept him on board, and it really was going to be an evaluation year. But I would expect some shuffling in that spot at some point in the next few weeks. Just a lot of people around the league are expecting that. But what do? You bring James Borrego in. He's been a head coach before. He's been a candidate for other jobs the last few years. Do you bring somebody in from the outside? I mean, Dumars and Troy have a wide network. Maybe they got somebody in mind, but it's really tough to bring somebody in off the street or off somebody else's bench. I just don't know what reason the Pelicans have to be optimistic right now.
I just looked it up. I may have misspoke when I said, does it really matter if Zion's out or not? Because if they haven't won a game yet with him in the lineup. But I will say, when he is off the floor in all of these games that they have lost, they're being outscored by around 30 per 100 possessions. Like, this is going to get worse. I don't know if, and ultimately it's what your record is, but again, it's a dark room. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. This is not a tunnel. This is a really bad situation where they can't even tank because they don't own their pick. And I just, we have talked about, hey, expansion looks like it's on hold for all the reasons. And maybe we are talking more about relocation. You and I talked about the Smoothie King Center lease being up in, what was it, a year, 2 years? Yeah. Although you do like those Smoothie Kings, smoothies, but yeah, I mean, the team's terrible. The ticket sales are going to be worse than they are now. And I don't know. I think this could be one of those things where we end up seeing a team relocate, not because of any one reason, not because Zion Williamson's out for 2 weeks or because Willie Green is he or is he not the right coach, but just overall, this franchise is in so much trouble.
Is there any part, obviously, a lot of people didn't expect them to be good, right? I mean, I'm surprised. And look, I remember looking at the line in the preseason for the over under and it being at like 31 and a half. And I'm like, 31 and a half? Really? This team's like 2 years removed from winning 49 games. Zion is back. When he's healthy, they tend to win.
That
Herb
was your
Jones is back.
mistake. Start that sentence again.
When he's healthy. But I mean, 2 years ago, he was healthy. I mean, he's played
Yes,
70 games in a
he
season
was.
before. So
Yes.
we've seen it. We've seen it at some point.
Yes.
Like Herb Jones, same thing. One of the better young two-way wings in the game. He was coming back into this mix. Like, where did this team go wrong? Like, maybe if you're not expecting them to be great, that's one thing. But 0-6, worst net rating in the NBA, offensive and defensive efficiency in the bottom 5. Like, where? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on where this team went wrong?
Look, this is when a team is underperforming its roster and it's already not a good roster. That is when you look at a coach. And look, as I said, I think this is not Willie Green's fault. I think there are so many problems throughout the organization, throughout the roster, that there is no way you can say, man, if they didn't have him, they'd be, number 3 in the West or whatever. But I do think that we just know how these things go. You're not going to replace the owner. You're not going to replace the new front office, and you can't really replace the majority of the players. You're going to replace the coach. And also, maybe they do need to hear someone else. Maybe they do need someone with a fresh take on how to use these players differently because, as you say, they are underperforming an already not great roster. And that is sometimes a coaching issue, whether it is just the guys aren't hearing the voice in the room anymore. The guys don't believe the coach could be coaching the best of anyone in the NBA, but the guys aren't receptive to it. Or maybe, they need some actual fresh ideas of how to use these guys. It's going to be harder when Zion Williamson's not there. I wonder if this becomes the opportunity to, kind of, I don't know. Do they need an opportunity to fire a guy who's already 0-6 on the season? But, if they lose a bunch of games in a row without Zion, then they really are going to. I don't know if you bring a new coach in until Zion Williamson's back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you can get that far. I mean, especially if it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks before he gets back into the mix. I was reading some of the tweets from people that cover the team down there from over the weekend. Will Guillory, who covers the team for The Athletic, said the Pelicans are playing an unserious brand of basketball. Pretty good line. Rod Walker over at NOLA.com said the players seem to have given up on Willie Green. So, the people that are around that team the most seem to be pretty emphatic about what they're seeing in front of them. And it's not something that they seem to be in this kind of death spiral that's not recoverable from with the current regime in place. All right, we're going to continue with this positive spin on this podcast. Talk about the Memphis Grizzlies and what's happening. What's happening down in Memphis with Ja Morant. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at Victor Wembanyama going over. Doesn't matter the stat, over on Victor Wembanyama. So download the app today and use promo code OPENFLOOR to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code OPENFLOOR.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Ja Morant, of course, was suspended after sleepwalking through the game against the Lakers on Friday. He served that
sleepwalking through the second half.
Second half, you're right. Second half. And I forgot the Grizzlies did have like a 14-point lead on the Lakers at one point.
Yes. And Ja had been playing well up until then. He had hit 2 game winners in the previous games. So whatever it was, the only reason why I'm making that point is the crux of what started this latest thing with Ja and latest happened at halftime, clearly.
Yeah. So he gets suspended on Sunday. The Grizzlies lose to the Raptors. That's a bad loss. That's a game you need to win if you're trying to be a contender in the Western Conference. Comes back on Monday. His numbers in the game were fine. 18 points, 10 assists. Those are fine. Had 5 turnovers, though. And then you look at just the numbers in the fourth quarter, just 2 shot attempts, 4 points, and just a lot of time spent looking disengaged with the game. And, maybe not to the extent that he was in the second half on Friday against the Lakers, but not in the same way we have seen Ja Morant engaged before. So, where do you think we are with Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies?
Well, did you see his media availability after that game?
I did.
I mean, that's what's really worrying to me. I mean, a 1-game suspension in the pantheon of Ja Morant suspensions, it's not good. I believe it's his 3rd suspension in 3 years, but it's 1 game, getting used to, his relationship with a relatively new coach, and the coach obviously having a more disciplinary coaching style. You could kind of say that's a bump in the road if he came back in this past game and looked interested and gave a good media availability after the game. Instead, he was surly. He answered in 1 or 2 word answers. Anytime someone asked him a question about him or what he thought, he said, you already talked to the coaching staff, so you should know. Talk to the coaching staff. And someone asked him, which I thought was actually a very fair question, of, do you regret how you played in the second half on Friday? And he said, "Oh, that's your home run question? That's a bait question." Not really. It's kind of the easiest question from a PR standpoint to answer in the world. It's the easiest question. It's not a bait question. It's, well, obviously I was feeling really upset. We've worked some issues out with the coaching staff. I don't want to be in that position again. I don't want to put my team in that position again. I'm really looking forward to having a strong start going from now. That's it. It's not a bait question at all. It's an easy question if you are interested in answering it the right way. And he clearly was not. And then today on his Instagram, he posted a bunch of pictures, the standard, these are the latest pictures of me playing from a professional photographer pictures that athletes post. But the song choice, which is usually pretty important to him, was "I'll Take the Blame" was the song. And the lyrics are, "So many ups and downs, so close to quitting. Then I think about the long nights trapped in the trenches." And the chorus is, "I'll take the blame, I'll take the blame, I'll take the blame." If you're an optimist, maybe you think Ja woke up this morning feeling, okay, all this business has to go, I'll take the blame. If you're a pessimist, this is, what we've seen from some athletes being like, "Oh, sure, blame me, I guess I'll take it." It's not good. And I don't think there is a way out for Memphis. I don't think they can trade him for a host of reasons. I don't think they'll get value for him. I don't think that they can trade him because he is still the guy who puts fans in the stands. He is an identity to people in Memphis. He is really important to people in Memphis. There is a strong, strong relationship there, despite what people around the country think.
Yeah, one of the things that sucks about this conversation is that it just seems like every time we talk about Ja Morant these days, it's in a negative context. Because he has done a lot, to your point, he's done a lot of great things in Memphis. He is Memphis Grizzlies basketball. He led them out of that post grit and grind era, to a 50+ win team. He was an all NBA guard, top 7 MVP back in, I think, 2022. Like, he at one point looked like the next face of the NBA. Like, he had that kind of potential. But the number of own goals he's had, it just makes it really hard to kind of have faith in him anymore. From the gun stuff to, I mean, you can go back I guess every player is trash talks, but I just remember that ESPN interview he did where he's like, "I'm not worried about anybody in the West," and they get smoked in, what was it, the first round, the second round, they get beat. It's
Right.
Then all the other stuff, the off the court stuff happens time and time again. And here we are once again, where Ja Morant is unhappy, and we're wondering, why? Like, what is the reason here? And look, the Grizzlies, if I'm Memphis, I got to be really frustrated with him because they have moved heaven and earth to stand by Ja Morant over the last 4 years. They have stood by him in the aftermath of these gun incidents. They have stood by him in the aftermath of all the subsequent immaturity, the gun gestures, the grenade to the crowd. They have always backed him publicly and privately. They have backed him within that organization. And look, even last year, things weren't going well with the Taylor Jenkins, Noah LaRoche offense. They fired Taylor Jenkins, they fired Noah LaRoche, and they elevated Tuosa. I keep butchering his name. Isolo. Yes.
Thomas Isola.
Isolo.
Sorry.
Isolo. Yes, I keep butchering it all the time. It's the combined two names that I can't get right. Isolo. They elevate him because Isolo was willing to put the ball back in Ja Morant's hands and make it more of a pick and roll friendly offense. I mean, you look at some of the numbers, like his usage rate last year, before the Jenkins LaRoche firing, it was around like 30%. In the final games of the season, up to 34. Like, even this year, the pick and roll numbers are high for Ja Morant. So it seems like he's getting what he wants with the system, but now it seems like he has an issue with the substitution patterns. And Isolo's, whole basis for this is that we're going to play at a fast pace. We want to keep fresh guys out there on the floor. And, if we do that and we sub guys in and out, it helps the team, over the long term. And look, maybe he has a point. But like Ja Morant, who's playing the fewest minutes of his career this year, right around 30 per game, doesn't like it and seems to be expressing that dislike with disenchantment and disengagement on the court. And look, this isn't, and I wrote about this in my newsletter this week, like this isn't just like me, the reporter, watching on TV noting this. Like, the Blake Griffin in that Amazon Prime broadcast called him out, said you're not playing with the kind of effort you need to play as a superstar player. Draymond Green in his podcast, he talked about the game that Ja played against Golden State a couple of weeks ago. Draymond said he and Steph had a conversation where they thought it looked like Ja was doing a quiet protest out there in that game. I saw Danny Green, ex-Grizzlies player, a few years removed from Memphis, him saying, look, I know that Ja had respect for Taylor Jenkins. I don't know if he has respect for this guy, meaning the new head coach. So, everybody out there is kind of seeing the same things. And if you're Memphis, you're kind of looking at John going, what more do we have to do? Like, maybe you didn't like it that we traded away Desmond Bane, but we're not trading away Desmond Bane to get worse while you're there. We're going to take these draft picks that we got for Desmond Bane, and we're probably going to use that to go get somebody else that maybe is a better fit for what this team's trying to do in the long term. I mean, Ja's 26 years old, under contract for the next 3 years. Jaren Jackson, under long-term contract. Like, they've got the foundation to be a contending team. And now, 3 weeks into the season, they're having to deal with Ja being unhappy again. If I was the Grizzlies, I would be really frustrated at what's going on right now.
It's just unclear if Ja and the Grizzlies have the same goals, right? I mean, I don't know if these substitution patterns are going to work. I mean, 3 minutes in some of these cases is very short. It is hard for guys to find their rhythm. I get why some of the players, or Ja in particular, might be frustrated. But as the coach said, when he was asked about this, he gave a very detailed explanation. And he said, look, I'm not trying to make the team worse, basically. He said, I'm doing all of this because I think it might help. And early in the season, if everyone bought in and tried it, and after a month it didn't help, I think he would revert, right? But he needs to actually see what happens when everybody is bought in, and Ja is not doing that. The Taylor Jenkins firing, there was a lot going on there. However, a lot of it, as you point out, was Ja didn't like a lot of the drive and kicks, sort of, more share the ball style. He wanted more of a heliocentric game. And by the way, after they switched coaches, he got more of a heliocentric game, and they didn't get any better, right? So I don't know if Ja's goal is, hey, this team, I want them to win no matter what. And if I have to take a different role, if I have to take my stats slightly go down, if I'm substituted in and out, my minutes go down a little bit. If we're winning, I'm winning, that's great. Or if his goal is, I want to be as much Ja Morant as possible. I want to show off as much as possible. I want to do all my Ja Morant things. And it doesn't matter to me if the team wins or loses. And I don't know that's how he feels. I haven't talked to him about this. But that's what it looks like from the outside. When you say, what else can they do? You have to start looking at the question is, are they trying to do things that he wants them to do just for him? Or are they trying to do things to win? And usually, hopefully, those kind of are somewhat parallel tracks. And I just don't know if they are right now. And if you look at his numbers, you mentioned that 2022 season, he's going to the basket half as much as he did in that season. And his shooting numbers have gotten worse, not better. And they can't get rid of him. I mean, they just can't. And so I don't know what they do going forward.
Yeah, and I don't see Isolo changing his style. I saw our friend Chris Vernon reference this
Yes.
with Zach Lowe recently, an interview that Isolo did on the X's and O's podcast. It was really interesting. I went back and watched that podcast. It was 90 minutes long. It was a lot of X's and O's that I watched the other day. I really need to get a life. But one of the things that he did say, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here, is that he's a big believer in the proverbial rip the Band-Aid off type of coaching philosophy. Like, he's not going to pamper a star player. He's not going to sugarcoat any type of criticism. He believes, and his experience in Germany and France and elsewhere has taught him, that by confronting a problem head on with a player, regardless of the status of that player, that is in the best interest of the relationship with the player and the best interest of the team. Now, that's worked in different environments. Will it work in an NBA environment? Typically, it doesn't. I guess I shouldn't say it doesn't, but if you're going to do that, you better have a better background or more success than just international play, right? Like, Greg Popovich can get in the face of young star players in San Antonio because Greg Popovich can flash rings. Eric Spoelstra can flash rings. Championship level coaches who have been in the NBA getting it done for decades can do that. Coaches who have just been competing in Europe, not to say that that makes them less of a coach, but they just don't have the same level of credibility with NBA players that coaches that have got it done on the NBA level do. So that to me is my question. Like, Isolo doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that is going to deviate from his fundamental coaching principles. And if he doesn't, that basically means either he's got to go or Ja's got to go. There's really, it's a black and white issue here to me, with no real gray area in between yet. Maybe, Isolo modifies a little bit, gets a little bit more cuddly in some of these conversations with Ja Morant. Maybe Ja Morant says, you know what, all right, for the best interest of the team, I'm going to, buy in a little bit more to what this guy is selling. I'm going to at least try this, 3 minutes on 3, whatever he's trying to do down there with the substitution patterns. But both these guys seem to be very stubborn individuals who believe that their ways work. And I'm curious to see which one budges, because somebody's going to have to budge, or else this relationship is untenable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a psychopath who listened to 90 minutes on the X and O's of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Actually really interesting. It was really interesting.
But I did see the clip in question of him just discussing that. And I think the nuance is so interesting, because it was less of, I believe in, addressing it head on. And if they can't take it, they don't belong in a locker room, blah, blah, blah. Like, we've seen some coaches go at players with that kind of bluster. He talked a little bit about, hey, I've seen how all of those back conversations around a team, when you don't quite address issues and then the players start talking to each other, and maybe a player is talking to an assistant coach that he's close with. And it just, that these back issues are the thing that he wants to avoid, because that can also rip apart a team where people aren't speaking honestly to each other. The middle ground is, of course, to call a player into your office and have that blunt conversation with him privately, as opposed to in front of the team. And maybe he did that. I don't know. We don't know the details of what happened there. Embarrassing him in front of the team, that's never going to work in the NBA. I just don't believe it is. I think Steve Kerr can point out things that Steph Curry does wrong, not just because of the rings, but because they have this long relationship where Steph knows what Steve's intentions are. I just don't think that you can do that right at the beginning of a relationship with a star NBA player in 2025. So I don't know if the modification is less, I'm going to tell him the truth, and more just how am I going to tell him the truth? I don't know if with Ja, because as you point out, the organization has stood by him through everything. I don't know if he just feels like no matter what he does or says, it's going to center around him. His way is what's going to happen. You know, a little bit of like, I've seen coaches come and go. I'm going to be here longer than you are. And it's going to have to be Ja's way or Ja won't participate. I don't know.
Well, you can't fire the coach. I mean, you just hired him. You can't fire him. He coached on an interim basis. You liked what you saw. You can't fire him like this. And if you did fire him, who is taking that job? Like, who with any kind of credibility wants the Memphis Grizzlies coaching job? Knowing that, like, well, no, you know that, like, you now know who's in charge there. And I get it that stars are in charge in a lot of franchises, but like, you are not. You're just coaching a team to make Ja Morant happy. I don't know why any coach with options would jump into that particular situation. I don't. The idea of trading Ja. Let's talk about that for a moment, because all throughout the game on Monday, I was texting different different executives and asking them their take on Ja Morant, and a lot of it was the same kind of response where nobody's saying wouldn't take Ja Morant. Like, Ja Morant is still a few years removed from an All-Star. He's a two-time All-Star. He's been an MVP candidate. He's still 26 years old. Like, this team's still interested in Ja Morant. And he's on by NBA standards, a pretty good contract. He's making like $40-ish million per year over the next 3 years. You can live with that for a guy with the upside and the potential and the play of Ja Morant. But you're not getting, if you're Memphis, anywhere close to dollar for dollar value for Ja Morant. You're just not. You look at what Miami got. Like, Ja Morant, it's not exactly the Jimmy Butler playbook, but when I hear the word joy, I go right back to Jimmy Butler. My mind goes right down to Miami when Jimmy was talking about his basketball joy. And he kind of went through the motions in Miami, towards the end to kind of force his way out of there. It's not the exact same, but Miami, when they made the Butler trade, they didn't get equal value for Jimmy Butler, not even close. No disrespect to Andrew Wiggins and what they got, but they got less value back. So much so they had to completely reinvent their offense because they had to be something different. Memphis can't afford to get or to ask for, 50 cents on the dollar for Ja Morant. Like, if you're going to do that, you might as well trade Jaren Jackson Jr. too and just like reboot the entire team, because you're not going to compete for anything with the Ja Morant trade. So I don't know where the Grizzlies go with all this either. They are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And if you're Zach Kleiman, you really just kind of have to look at this and hope it improves. Work behind the scenes to kind of massage this and try to get these two guys on the same page. Look, Memphis, they're bad right now, but the Pelicans are bad and they've got a lot of guys. They're missing some guys, DeJounte Murray and all that. And, he's still out, and Kevon Looney's just coming back. But the Pelicans are without like core players who they were getting hardship exceptions like a week into the season. Right. They're without, Brandon Clark. They're without Zach Edey. They're without guys that are integral to what they do. Like, if Ja can get on the same page with the head coach and the coaching staff, and these guys start to come back, I'm not saying they're a contender to win the West. I would stop short of that. But they're a team that should fight for a mid-type playoff seed in that conference. So I don't know. I don't know if you have a take on where the Grizzlies should go with Ja, how serious you think they should consider a trade. But I just don't think it's realistic, not with what they're likely going to get in terms of offers for Ja Morant.
Yeah, I just don't think they can trade him. I don't think the value is out there for him that they would need. But also, again, the relationship between him and the community and the season ticket holders and everyone in Memphis is stronger than we outside of it know. That nationally, Ja Morant has one reputation, and in Memphis, it's not the opposite reputation, but it's different. And the way Memphis Grizzlies fans identify with him is different than what we sitting here nationally think. And that is another franchise that people mention when they talk about, okay, if we're not going to expand, are we going to relocate? Are we going to move the Grizzlies again? Finally, give them a new name? Anyway, but I don't think they can afford, 5 seasons of no one coming in to the arena, because fans will feel like, well, you traded away our guy and now you're rebuilding. And, our Washington Wizards fan producer will tell you that rebuilding takes a lot of grit from the fans to go through all of those years. I don't think they can do it. So to your point,
well,
I think
the Wizards are locked into that arena. They've got an owner that is all about the team being in that Washington area. Yep. That is not the case with the Memphis Grizzlies. I agree with you that the Grizzlies fans in Memphis are as much or more Ja Morant fans than they are Grizzlies fans. They are showing up for Ja Morant. He draws the crowd there, but the crowds there aren't very good. Look at the attendance numbers year after year, bottom 5 in the NBA in attendance, like high water marks, like getting into the bottom third, like the bottom 10 of the league. They just don't draw down there. And haven't consistently for a pretty long time. In the playoffs, they're great. Like that is a phenomenal building in terms of playoff atmosphere. They're kind of like, it's almost, old Utah-ish, kind of what the Clippers are doing now with that vertical seating arrangement. Like they're great. They're great in the postseason, but day after day, regular season, it's not a huge fan base. And when you have a lease that is coming up in 2029, a lease that for all the lip service that city officials have paid to providing money to the Grizzlies to renovate that arena and keep them there for the long term. It hasn't been done yet. They talked about getting it done this summer. It's not done yet. Late September, I read some comments from the mayor saying, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. It hasn't been done yet. The Grizzlies are not saying anything about their future long term in Memphis. It's all really one-way traffic coming from the city saying, we want to keep the Grizzlies there. And their owner is a guy named Robert Pera, who is a Silicon Valley guy. He bought the team, 2012? To his credit, hasn't, moved them or talked about moving them, has kept them down there in Memphis, invested in the team, done some good things. But, he's not tied to the Memphis area, not in the same way some other owners are. So look, fans hate to hear it, but you do got to be concerned. Like if you wind up trading Ja Morant and going into a full-scale rebuild where like 8,000 fans a night are showing up at your arena and they're paying ticket prices of like $10 a pop, that is not sustainable. That is not something that an ownership group is going to tolerate. Not if there really are other options out there. Like I still think expansion is the most likely outcome of all this Seattle, Las Vegas talk. But Adam Silver told me on the record back in September that we have discussed relocation. It is something that is on the table with NBA owners. And if they're going to relocate, like I wrote my newsletter, no official within 100 miles is going to, name a team they're going to relocate. It's not how they operate, but everybody knows the score. New Orleans, bad arena, football owner, limited support in the region. They could be moved. Memphis, decent arena, passionate fans, but not enough of them. And potentially an owner that is cool with moving to the Northwest where he's currently based in his day job. So I think you got it. That has to be considered when the Grizzlies are talking about what they're going to do next.
I agree. I mean, I just think it's a tough situation. You and I are both, I think, fans of Zach's, and he's going to have to your point, like work a little behind the scenes magic, which he's done in other situations. But I just don't know if any of the pieces here are movable. And right now, the pieces are in conflict with each other.
Yeah. All right. We're going to finish on a positive note, I swear, because we are going to talk about Rachel Nichols' Milwaukee Bucks, the defender.
Yeah, we are.
The defender of the Great Lakes region. Is that what we call people in Milwaukee? I don't know. What do we call cheeseheads? Oh, that's Green Bay, I guess. Like the defender of Milwaukee has been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, if not months, that the Bucks should keep Giannis in Milwaukee. Don't trade him. Build around him. Try to find a winner. Don't mess around with any of that stuff. Looks pretty good right now. The Bucks off to a very good start, well above 500. Giannis playing out of his mind. Like his numbers, as we record this, leading the NBA in scoring over 34 points per game, just having a monster statistical year. And things are going well right now in Milwaukee. Made a buzzer beater against the woebegone at this point Indiana Pacers to get a win there. How are you feeling about your Milwaukee Bucks? Are you thinking this is a nice little start, but maybe they regress the mean? Are you seeing things that make you believe this is sustainable? What do you think?
I feel good, Chris Mannix. I mean, look, it's very early, obviously. But even in this very early way, the top of the East does not look like people predicted the top of the East would look like. And there's plenty of time for those sort of situations to correct themselves. But you have to note that Milwaukee has the best player in the conference. And we say all the time in the NBA, if you have the best player, the odds are tilted toward you in your favor. It doesn't mean you're going to win every game. Doesn't mean you're going to, shoot up to number one in the standings, but it makes a difference. And in terms of the guys physically playing this season, he is the best player. And also, yes, he's off to this ferocious start. And, there may be that sort of common thing. Oh, is he going to be able to stick through the whole season like that? Can he continue? He has. I mean, it's just lost in the sauce of the Nikola Jokic spectacular, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading a team spectacularly MVP race we had last year. But Giannis would have won the MVP in any other year because it was better than when he did win MVP. His numbers, his part, the way he led the team, all of the things he did. He is playing at that level of consistency and throughout an entire season. So I wouldn't expect anything different from him this season. Thanasis is back. He's happy. They got his younger brother on the roster now. I mean, it's a jovial locker room. Doc Rivers, for all the criticism he gets during the playoffs, is playing the roster he has really well. He's putting guys in position to succeed. And I know the roster didn't excite, you at the beginning of the season for one and several others, but they actually have made some upgrades in a number of positions. He's surrounded by shooting. They've got guys who play better defensively. I mean, the Miles Turner trade has worked out well for them. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying they're going to, make the NBA finals and they're beating everyone else in the East, but I feel good about the stuff I have been talking about for months, which is you don't let go of a player in his still prime who is once in a generation, who in Milwaukee's case is once in 50 years. And you try to do everything you can with the circumstances you have to win. And I feel like they're doing that right now. And I'm very interested to see where this goes and what sustains and what doesn't.
All right. The Giannis output is absolutely sustainable. This is Giannis. Like, is he going to average 35? Probably not. Is he going to average 28? Probably. Maybe even 30. He's done it before. Yep. His rebounding numbers are going to be great. I'm not surprised that Miles Turner fits. Like, it works in that front court. I've always believed in that front court. The rest of it I didn't see coming. Like, no way anybody saw Ryan Rollins coming. Like, no way. If you told me that you saw Ryan Rollins, who is challenging our guy AJ Mitchell for most improved player right now. Right. You tell me that you saw this guy averaging like 17 a game with 6 assists, the starting guard, I do not believe you. This guy's got some moxie. He's playing with some swagger. I do not believe for a hot minute that you or anyone else saw Ryan Rollins coming. So I didn't see that coming whatsoever. He has been brilliant for that team. Kyle Kuzma as a sixth man, really good. Mm-hmm. Really good. I did expect him to get better in his first full season with Milwaukee, having a training camp, understanding the system, and he has really played well. Efficient numbers in that sixth man role, giving you points like 12, 13 per game. That's really good. AJ Green, like his shooting percentages are insane right now. He's like 57% from the floor, 51% from three, another hugely high value guy that John Horst has hit on. As a team, they're shooting better than 40% from three right now. And that would be a franchise record for them. They would not, they've never shot that kind of number before. The number 2 in the NBA in 3-point shooting percentage. Now, they were, I think, number 1 last year in 3-point shooting percentage, but they had Damian Lillard last year. So it's like, I kind of anticipate that. Are they going to be able to keep up that pace of 3-point shooting this year? I think that's a big, big part of what they're doing offensively. They're shooting some threes, they're making some threes. So I think that to me is the biggest question. I believe Giannis is going to be great. I believe Miles Turner is going to be fine. I am very pleasantly surprised with what I've seen from that backcourt rotation, that wing rotation. Now it's a question of, they've done it for 7 or 8 games. Can they do it for another 70 more?
Yeah, no, I mean, that of course. And until these guys prove it, we don't know. But what allows you to have good shooting, a table set for good shooting, is a guy like Giannis who defenses are drawn to. We talk about Steph Curry changing the geometry of the court. Giannis Antetokounmpo changes the geometry of the court and makes everyone else's job easier. Because if you have that one more second of open space to shoot, if you have that one more guy who's maybe 2 steps a little further away from you because he's also looking at what Giannis is doing, if the coverages end up that 2 guys end up on Giannis because of your screens or whatever else, or someone decides to double him, you have more open lanes as a shooter. And I just think that reality of the table is set for maybe average shooters to be above average, that is going to consistently move forward on a Giannis Antetokounmpo team with the way Doc Rivers is coaching them right now. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see if they use that table to their advantage. But I just like it. And we talked so much this summer about like, oh, the East, it's so bad. It's wide open. Like it's anyone's game. If this is the year, if you're the Knicks, like if you don't make it this year, you're never going to make it type of thing. It's bad for a lot. I mean, it's not like just the Knicks play bad teams. Milwaukee's playing bad teams. There are a lot of teams in the East. We talked about the Pacers. Like they just beat the Pacers because the Pacers don't have Tyrese Halliburton. And they're not going to have Tyrese Halliburton all year. So those are going to be probably wins for Milwaukee. I mean, they blew a game against Sacramento, but, that's going to happen once in a while. I just think that they have the best player in the conference. And as long as they're being coached well, and as long as they've got other guys who buy into what their roles are, which they seem to have, you mentioned Kuzma as the sixth man, I don't see why they can't do well. I don't see why they can't be top 4 in the East.
Ryan Rollins was such an incredible find for this team. Ryan Rollins was drafted in 2022 by Atlanta. He gets draft night traded to Golden State. He's part of that Jordan Poole, Chris Paul Wizards trade.
Right.
Was it 2023? Plays sparingly for the Wizards. Comes to Milwaukee, plays sparingly early for Milwaukee. Last year, gets about 15 minutes per game, averages 6 points. This year, those minutes doubled, and the scoring output has more than doubled. Like this guy, I mean, I don't know where he was or what he did to get to this point, but he is a huge reason why this team is where they are right now. He is, like him and AJ Mitchell, two of the best stories of the year so far. It's really been something to watch with those guys. Now we'll see if they can sustain that. Are they a 5-2 percentage type of team? I don't know. They're certainly above 500. And I guess if Ryan Rollins can keep it up, if AJ Green keeps shooting mid 40s from 3, anything can happen in Milwaukee. You may be proven right that the Bucks holding on to Giannis was the right thing to do. Maybe Giannis.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Maybe it's Ryan Rollins that leads Giannis to sign an extension.
Look, even if he doesn't, right, they still have one more year to play with there, right?
Well,
so if Giannis does not sign an extension.
Yes and no. They're not going to keep him, though, if he doesn't sign the extension.
No. I just mean that they don't have to make that decision this year. Everyone who was sort of saying, okay, Damian Lillard's hurt, just trade him now when he's got more trade value. Giannis Antetokounmpo will always have trade value. And so if he doesn't just sign an extension this summer and he ends up being on an expiring contract for the following season, they will still get very good trade value for Giannis Antetokounmpo. There are several teams that you and I know are holding roster spots and salary slots open for him. There is no way, no scenario where one more or less year on his contract is going to drastically change the market for Giannis. So they have this year to go for it as much as possible. I never thought that they should trade him this summer. And then you'll just have to see what he says at the end of all of it, how he feels. And he went into this season, by the way, saying, I think we have a pretty good team. And a lot of people were like, yeah, sure, whatever. But he felt that way. And that's really the most important person who needs to feel that way.
He knew what Ryan Rollins was. He saw
exactly before we did. Well, look, who was the most improved player this past year?
Oh, God, I forget. Who was
it? A guy who didn't get an opportunity and didn't have as much minutes on his previous team, who went to Atlanta, and everything changed because he got different opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's Ryan Rollins, it's AJ Mitchell, most improved candidates. I might be more impressed. I mean, no, I can't say that because I was really impressed with AJ Mitchell. But Ryan Rollins, playing for 3 teams before landing in Milwaukee, and clearly they were onto something the end of last year when he was playing more significant minutes. They kind of knew what might be coming with him, but he's just been outstanding. And you're right. Look, it's kind of a best case scenario at this point. They're competitive. They're playing at a high level at the moment. They've got some young pieces that seem to work opposite Giannis, and Giannis is playing out of his mind. So he's not diminishing his trade value one bit at this stage of his career. All right, Rachel, well, you are obviously welcome in Milwaukee whenever. Free bratwurst and booze for you. Anytime.
I'll take a free beer anytime.
Anytime you visit Milwaukee, because your unflinching faith in the Bucks hanging on to Giannis and building around him seems to be being rewarded at this moment.